Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy, Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. And this, well, it's a Deku What If, but I'm going to be doing this in a different format. It's going to be an entire movie in one shot. It's going to be aka a one-shot movie. And I used to do quite a few of these back in the day for Shield Hero What Ifs, but I actually strayed away from it. Kind of stopped doing them as much, but I decided, hey, you know what, y'all boys, y'all goated subs, everybody who watches my videos, you guys are awesome. And I thought, you know what, let me try to get an entire movie to y'all of an idea called What If Deku Had a Sorcerer Quirk. And yeah, I want to say quickly, right off the bat, make sure to check the links in the description, all that stuff. Make sure to check everything out in the description. We have a Discord, we have a Spotify, we have all that good stuff. This is gonna be very similar to that one video I did, or the one video I did with What If Deku had a Bard Quirk. So if you guys enjoyed that video, I hope you guys also end up enjoying this one. But with that said, I don't have much else to say, much else to talk about. And yeah, I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into it, so let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is born into a world full of superpowers known as quirks. These quirks would really set the field and set the destination to what every single person wants to do with their lives. Every single person wants to do with their up and coming journeys. Because for one, every person in the world practically wants to be a hero. Absolutely wants to be a hero. And it's no different for the young Izuku Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya, though, well, at the age of 4, would be granted a quirk that many would think is absolutely awesome. Absolutely insane. I mean, even a lot of the kids there would say that he is like a wizard, in which Izuku would always say that he's not a wizard, he's a sorcerer, but that's beyond the point. Izuku Midoriya would, at a young age of 4, begin to be able to use abilities that many would think are insanely awesome. Abilities from dancing lights that could spin around the person, to even throwing a firebolt that would, you know, burn up anything that basically is in contact of that said firebolt. Now, there's a lot of other things he can do, and a lot of other amazing things he is capable of doing, but right off the rip, he's able to do some absolutely hilarious and absolutely amazing things. Izuku, around that age of around 6 or 7, would continue throughout his kind of journey of learning what he can do. Everything, you know, all the little spells and stuff, and he even practices them in the backyard and tries his best to really get a grasp on all the capabilities that he really has. But I mean, of course, he's gonna have a hard time learning to master all of his sorcerer-like powers at a young age. It's not easy. It's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be simple. So he has a hard time, you know, learning and really figuring it all out. But overall, I mean, he gets a hold of a lot of the things that he's capable of. A lot of the things that he's able to do. From ice powers to lightning-esque powers to poison to fire to even necrotic and acid. He tries it all. He actually has a lot of spells that even involve not actually hitting a person. And Izuku has spells that are very, very unique, and spells that would help him along the way of his hero journey. But as his hero journey is pretty damn far away at this point, Izuku Midoriya is just trying to be that normal kid, or that kid that, you know, a lot of people like to be around. And with everything he can do, with all of his special powers, he becomes pretty damn popular. So much so that the one and only Bakugo is pretty damn jealous of Izuku Midoriya. He's unhappy, he's jealous, and he really doesn't like the fact that Izuku is taking up so much of the attention, you could say. And he's not happy about it by any means. He wants all that attention, he wants all of that glory, and he wants the glory of being the first person to be in UA high school out of the middle school, the crappy middle school that they call their own. But Izuku's not going to give up that very easily, especially when they get older. And when he's around the age of about 15, that's when they would both learn that they're both trying for the UA entrance exam. And Bakugo, he would be pissed. He would think this is ridiculous, that he's an idiot, that he shouldn't try for any of this. He shouldn't try to do any of that. And he should just, just give it a rest. That he's not good, he's not good enough, and he can't do anything to the degree he can, so he should just give it a rest. And Izuku's like, look man, calm down, like I'm not trying to take any glory from you, I'm not trying to do anything crazy, like I am just legitimately trying to find my way, right? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find my way to becoming what I want to become. And if that has, hero written all over it, if that has me becoming the greatest hero alive, then so be it. But don't think like I'm trying to do this because I'm trying to outclass you, like I'm trying to be better than you. No. That's not the case at all. Frankly, I don't even really think about you for the most part. In which everybody hears this and thinks, oh, like he really got you there. Like he really said, like he doesn't even think about you. Like he does not care about you, bro. Like that is pretty crazy. And Izuku kind of just shrugs his shoulders, saying like, look, at the end of the day, we're both trying to get where we want to be. And we're both, at the end of the day, trying to become heroes. We're trying to become, heroes in this world. And yeah, it's not easy, but we all kind of gotta take the same approach for the most part. But of course, he's not hearing it. He thinks this is ridiculous. He thinks that there's no way someone like Izuku should ever be touching him, ever be even close to him. And Izuku just shakes his head and says, look, man, whatever you want to think, I don't care. And he kind of just leaves it at that. But as he's kind of listening to the teacher and all this other stuff, let's just say Bakugo ain't too happy about what he said. And after class, he borderline attacks Izuku. He borderline attacks him. And Izuku, well, he would take the brunt of this explosion that he would get hit with, but he would look at Bakugo and tell him that he does not want to do this. He does not want to do this at all. And he promises him that. He tells him straight up, like, you don't want to do this, man. You do not want to fight me. And Izuku would show a flame or like a flaming bolt that is hovering over his hand. And he tells Bakugo again that he does not want to do this. And Bakugo says that he doesn't care what he can do. He doesn't care at all. He doesn't care if he can explode things and freeze things or this or that. He doesn't care. He doesn't give an absolute F. And Izuku tells him that he's going to be thinking about that a lot differently once he starts realizing the difference between him and Izuku. He's going to start realizing that the difference is a lot more than he thinks. In which Izuku, well, he watches as Bakugo would charge at him at or nearby the fountain, and Izuku would watch as a magical hand of some sorts would just slap Bakugo right into the fountain, getting him entirely covered in water. Izuku would laugh and say, you see right there? That's what I call a mage hand. A mage hand that normally is used to grab things and do this or that, but this time it was used to slap you in the face. In which Izuku laughs a bit and then tells him that he'll be seeing him very soon. But, don't do anything too crazy. Like, don't do anything that would really get anybody hurt. Don't do anything that would get anybody in trouble. Don't do anything stupid. And he tells him that he'll be seeing him pretty soon. And when she heads off and actually goes underneath a bridge, and as he's heading underneath this bridge, he would see that it's pretty dark, so he would decide to light it up himself using one of his abilities or using one of his spells, just called Light. He would basically have this light that would surround him and would kind of dance around him, and he would just, light up the area that's underneath him. And as he's walking through, he would begin hearing something coming from the manhole cover, something that would eventually jump out at him and jump out to try and take his body. This is the sludge villain. And Izuku, well, he's pretty quick to realize that he needs to get the F out of there, so he begins to run pretty damn fast. And the sludge villain is even pretty impressed that the kid can run this fast. Like, what the hell? Like, how are you able to do that? And Izuku just takes off running, using a spell to actually enhance his retreat, and he's out of there. Like, straight up out of there. He does not want to deal with or get hit by anything the sludge villain has to offer, and the sludge villain continues to chase him, but Izuku would turn and he would shoot a ray of frost or a ray of ice right at the sludge villain, covering even the ground and hitting the sludge villain as well, as he would tumble and slide and smash against the wall that is nearby. And Izuku would look to see that someone actually showed up behind him. This someone is All Might. All Might would land a one blow and it would shatter the sludge villain into little pieces, and Izuku would be standing there like, oh, you know what, that's pretty interesting. That's actually really interesting. The fact that he was able to do things like that, and the fact that he was able to handle things the way he handled them, it's pretty damn impressive that he was able to, kind of do that the way he did it. In which Izuku was like, hey, that's insane how strong he is. That's incredible how strong he is. And he begins to then realize who he is, or who that person that just punched the sludge villain was, and that it's All Might. And he begins freaking out, obviously doing this whole I need an autograph, let me get this, let me get that, blah blah blah. And eventually All Might would jump off or jump away, but of course this time around he wouldn't actually grab onto All Might's leg, because he doesn't really need to know if he could or should or can be a hero. Like, who cares, right? Like, he knows he can be, so there's really no point in necessarily actually knowing those things. But he kind of just lets him jump off and thinks that he's gonna give it his absolute best, like genuinely his absolute best, because this could mean so much. This could mean so much for him in the future, and could mean that he could really take his skills to the next level and really take everything that he's learned and everything he can do to the next level as well. And Izuku is just excited for this 10-month journey that is going to be surrounded by just, all of him just kind of just training and preparing and doing all these things, because Izuku's just like, oh yeah, I'm going to show everybody what I can do, everybody what I'm capable of. And that's what he's gonna do. After 10 months of training, learning new spells, and trying to at least conjure up new spells as well, he's finally ready to see what he can really do. And there's a lot of stuff that he learns that, in my opinion, or really in general, won't be that useful for him, at least not off the rip, especially because the UA entrance exam will be against robots. But Izuku overall will definitely have his have a good head start on the competition when they're done with the written portion, listen to present mic, and then go on to that next portion, which is of course the practical portion. The practical portion of the exam is against robots, and Izuku, well, he starts off, no pun intended, hot, by using something known as what he calls burning hands. He begins to kind of use burning hands over and over in different places to destroy different robots, but he also uses mage hand to kind of follow him around, grab things and kind of throw things at robots to destroy them. And he has a really easy time in doing so, destroying robot after robot after robot, and he does quite well. I mean, even using something he has been able to figure out, known as magic missile, which destroys multiple 1-point robots at the same time. and he continues his onslaught by using Thunder Wave to actually push a ton of robots onto each other and destroying those as well. But overall, Izuku has one heck of a time, and has a really good showing to everybody who is currently watching. But there is something that occurs that makes him question what he should be doing in this situation. A girl is covered in rubble and unable to move, and Izuku has to watch as the robot is closing in on her and is going to actually stomp on her. And Izuku thinks, oh, I need to do something, but what should I do? What can I do? And what really should I do? And he tries his best. He goes over there and tries to remove the rubble and uses Mage Hand to do so, removing the rubble from the girl, and has the Mage Hand pick her up, and they begin moving away. And Izuku, well, he immediately would realize that he needs to retreat a lot quicker, so he grabs Ochaku Uraka, picking her up and using an enhanced leap and leaping as far as possible and actually covering a big distance. As he covers this distance, he continues to leap over and over again, and he covers quite a bit of a distance to get away from this giant robot, luckily sparing the lives of himself and also the girl. And all the teachers who are watching, everybody who is watching, are pretty damn impressed. Like, this was pretty damn cool and pretty damn awesome to watch someone actually do this. I mean, Izuku was able to do some crazy freaking things, and he not only was able to get her out of harm's way, he was able to get himself out of harm's way and not, cause any extra panic or any extra kind of bad things to happen. And everybody watches this, the teachers and other people as well, and they think that Izuku, well, he is prepared, very prepared, to go on to UA High School and to go on to what he believes is the next step in his journey. And that is the truth of it. Izuku is ready. Izuku is prepared, and Izuku is definitely strong enough to go into UA High School and make a absolute difference right off the bat. And this would lead him to finishing the UA entrance exam, heading home, and waiting for that letter to arrive. And once that letter arrives, he would pick it up, he would look in the envelope, and what would he see? Well, he would see that he got into UA High School Class 1A as the number one student. But being the number one student, you gotta imagine that is a lot to handle and something, well, for him to live up to. And Izuku, well, he's gonna try his best to do so, because his very first day at UA would be a chance at him doing just that, living up to the reputation of being the number one student. Because Shota Aizawa would tell them all to go outside and prepare for a quirk assessment. And Izuku, well, he has his chance right off the bat, a chance to throw a ball as far as possible, but he can utilize his quirk. So he grabs the ball with Mage Hand and looks to throw it as far as possible. But as he throws it, he would immediately, immediately, use another spell using Thunder Wave to push it even further to the sky. Now, this one throw isn't insane. I mean, it's not insane, but it's pretty damn good, but not insane. Now, it's way farther than anyone could really throw just normally, but Izuku only gets it to about 300, maybe even 350 meters. Now, in terms of Bakugo, who's up next, would throw it quite a bit further. But just because he threw it quite a bit further doesn't mean he's going to be better than Izuku at everything. And luckily enough, Izuku has quite a few things to basically help him get better scores, especially when he's told that whoever gets last place will be expelled from UA. And hearing this, he wants no mistakes and not a single misstep. And he decides to basically pull out some of the other moves that he has learned and he is capable of at this point. And he decides to use something called Misty Step. This right here, well, this is perfect for the whole race aspect of this. He uses Misty Step and boom, he's already at the other side and already at where he needs to ran to, or he could or where he needed to run to. Now, he could have also used some sort of like, you know, enhanced leap or like some fast retreat or kind of fast, like kind of like fleet footwork type of thing. But he decided to use Misty Step as a teleport, and that's exactly what he did. He would teleport away, and he would teleport, getting a very, very fast time on that, almost instantaneous borderline. But of course, it does take time for Misty Step to actually fully, you know, ensue. But with all that said, he gets pretty damn good scores on practically everything, on like almost everything that he's done. And he gets good enough scores to be actually the #1 student in this section as well, the #1 student in the quirk assessment. And it's all because he's able to do kind of everything at a high level. Now, he might not be first in everything, but he does everything at an insanely high level that would allow him to be at a really different level than everyone else. And Izuku, well, he would easily be able to get that first place, and everybody would think like, wow, that was pretty damn impressive for him. I mean, he's out there looking like a wizard, in which Izuku tells them, well, for the first time, that he is not a wizard, he is a sorcerer, and he is going to be the greatest sorcerer to ever exist. In which they say that probably won't be too hard because, well, I don't know if there's that many sorcerers out there in the first place. And which Izuku shrugs his shoulders and says that the statement is still true. No matter what, he is going to be the greatest sorcerer to ever be born, especially in this world. And Izuku, well, he shows off those capabilities today, and he'll continue to show off those capabilities, especially the next day when they do heroes versus villains training with All Might. And the same things would ensue where Bakugo and Tenya would be the villains, and also Izuku and Ochako would be the heroes. Now, of course, what they have to do as the heroes is they have 5 minutes to plan and 5 minutes to capture the bomb. If they don't capture the bomb, the villains win. If they do touch the bomb and capture it, then the heroes win. And this right here is where Izuku is going to truly show off, because this is where Izuku shows what his powers, his sorcerer abilities can really do, and what they can really do. Because before you know it, they would be able to dignify where the bomb is, and he would use Mage Hand to legitimately grab the bomb and pull it out of a window. He would easily put it in the air and then place it down on the ground. Him and Ochako would touch the bomb, and everybody would watch in complete shock that it's already over. Izuku's team has already won. And Bakugo is, of course, pissed off because he wanted a chance to beat the snot out of Izuku. But Tenya, on the other hand, is pretty damn impressed by what he was able to do. In which, of course, All Might would give a bit of a lecture about what they should have done, who should have done what, and he gives his compliments, of course, to Izuku and Ochako for really using the powers of Izuku and using all of the powers to their massive advantage, which is the truth, right? They were able to utilize their powers and utilize everything they're capable of to really get that upper hand and to really show what they're capable of, and to really prove that in an actual scenario, like an actual hero scenario, Izuku is so much better. Now, Izuku did show off quite a bit, and Ochako really didn't do a ton, but of course they are on a team, so you can't really take it away from her that she didn't really do much, because Izuku was just really prepared for a scenario like this one. Really prepared for a scenario that involved kind of capturing something and doing something of that sort. And after some time of just watching the other students, you know, get on with their versions of the heroes versus villains training, Izuku would just be sitting there waiting, watching, listening, and just learning as much as possible, even taking in some of the other powers of the people, the ice powers of Todoroki, the ability to create things from Momoyorozu, so much more, so many things, because he believes as a sorcerer, just because his quirk is based on just being a sorcerer and having spells, doesn't mean he can't take inspiration from other people's quirks that could potentially be used as a spell in the near future. Now, there's no guarantee, of course. It's not like he's going to be able to, like, you know, take someone's quirk and use it as a spell straight up, but just the simple principle of it. Like, for example, Todoroki's usage of ice might be able to be utilized by Izuku, who has certain ice powers as well, which is massively beneficial in the long run. So that is something that he has really thought about. But after all of their heroes versus villains training is all said and done, Izuku Midoriya and the rest of the class would head off to the rest of their, you know, their daily class regimen, and it would lead them to actually the next day going to the USJ, which is a rescue facility that Izuku is excited to get some training in, because this is what he thrives on. This is what Izuku really thrives on in terms of, like, wanting to get better and wanting to be a better hero, is through rescue, not through raw power and, you know, throwing a giant fireball at somebody, which is, of course, an awesome thing to do, but that's not where his quirk really relies. Like, he doesn't want to rely on just raw power. He wants to rely on strategy, thinking, and understanding, and kind of going through things in a certain way. And that's what he does. Especially, he's excited to learn more about that aspect when they're at the USJ. But unfortunately, when they arrive at the USJ, they're not going to be able to train the way he wants to train, because this is where portals would open up and villains, yes, villains, would begin to surge out of said portals, trying to actually attack the people there. Izuku immediately is thinking that they need to do something. He looks toward Aizawa, and Aizawa would jump into action basically instantly, telling everybody to stay by Pro Hero 13 and for basically her to keep them safe. Izuku's thinking, though, what can he do to really help? What can he do to help Aizawa get the upper hand on basically what's happening? And this is where Izuku really thinks about what he's capable of, and thinks about, okay, what can I kind of help him with that will kind of help him and not hurt him? Because that's the last thing he'd want, is for him to somehow, you know, be hurt because of some stupid thing that he decides to kind of do or help him with in general. So he decides that he's going to do something that he's been actually working on quite a bit, and that is to put people to sleep. A spell that literally puts people to sleep, but he hasn't really found, like, you know, the perfect usage for it. So this might be the perfect usage. It might give him and also Aizawa enough time to deal with certain villains, but also deal with other villains while they are sleeping. So Izuku puts to sleep quite a few of the villains, as Aizawa would absolutely obliterate some of the other ones. But before Izuku could help any further, he would be teleported away into a giant lake. A giant lake that has a boat on it, but Izuku would immediately be attacked by a bunch of these fish-like monsters, and Izuku would smirk as he would try to get out, but luckily Asui would actually save him, and he would tell Asui that he has this covered, that this is already over, and that they made a big mistake sending them here, because he's more than prepared for this moment, more than prepared for this situation. In which Asui asks, how like, what does he mean? Like, how do you know that? In which Izuku says that these villains down there, well, they have already lost. In which he shoots a lightning kind of strike, a lightning bolt of some sorts, right at the water, as it would fry the villains, not killing them fully, of course, because they have durability and, you know, some endurance and stuff, but it would fry them quite a bit. And Izuku would basically would just, you know, temporarily, like kind of as if you're striking it with lightning, like actual lightning. It's not going to stay there forever because it's not a continuous course of energy, but Izuku witch bolts it, and it would basically fry them for the most part, and Izuku would stop it after he knows that those villains are dismantled and defeated. And Izuku would tell Asui and also Mineta to hold on tight, because they're gonna jump from here all the way over there. And Asui says that she can give him a little boost as well if he needs the room, in which he thinks, yeah, maybe it might be for the best. So he would actually use enhanced leap on all of them, and Asui would jump, and she would feel this jump that she's never felt before. A jump that like felt like she was able to jump skyscrapers, borderline. Like that's how it felt. And Izuku would just be like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what these things can do, and that's kind of what these things are capable of doing. And Izuku just smiles and kind of says like, it's pretty damn cool. I mean, it does make for you know, a pretty handy thing, you could say. And they land nearby the water, but on the kind of the shore of the area. And Izuku and Asui and also Mineta would go back to try and regroup with the other people there. He sees that Aizawa has literally handled all the villains, and the ones that were already sleeping have been also tied up and knocked out, because, well, they were unable to really even fight in the first place. So it was actually a pretty good thing, for it to happen at that moment. Now, as Izuku is basically watching once again, he would wonder if Aizawa would really not need help. That this just feels like something that is bad, like as if he's going to get hurt, and he's going to need help in general. And without Pro Hero 13 being able to help the way she possibly could, Izuku believes that he should help Aizawa, do something at least, but he's not 100% sure. He doesn't know what to do or what can he do, but he thinks that the best way to really do it and the best way to really help might be just to utilize his mage hand to move things around, and maybe even kind of help out with distracting the villains. And that's what he does. He's able to use Mage Hand to actually distract the main villain, Shigaraki, where Shigaraki would get slapped in the face and basically pushed away, and he would be super confused, wondering like that makes no sense. Like, how does that even happen? Like, how does that even happen? How did I just get slapped in the freaking face? And Izuku, well, he would be kind of fending off those other villains as the Nomu would be chasing down Aizawa. And Aizawa was able to move out of the way with his kind of, you know, his decent speed, and he's not getting caught off guard, getting, you know, absolutely slapped into a wall by the giant Nomu. But still, he struggles and has a hard time kind of keeping up in general. And Izuku's just doing his best to try and like kind of, you know, get things in order and try to basically help out where he can, even creating minor illusions that would distract the other villains and distract Shigaraki and Kurogiri for the most part. But luckily enough, All Might is about to arrive, and he's just getting into the USJ to help stop this Nomu. And Izuku realizes that he definitely can leave the rest to All Might in terms of defeating the Nomu, and Aizawa can help defeat Shigaraki and Kurogiri, in which Izuku, well, watches as Aizawa closes the distance on Shigaraki, and actually Todoroki and Bakugo would come out of nowhere, landing blows of their own, stopping Kurogiri and Shigaraki as well, covering one in ice, and Bakugo threatening to explode the metal parts, or the metal kind of armor that he has, saying that he obviously is you know, somewhat kind of like weak in that spot, and he better be careful because he might just explode him entirely. Izuku, on the other hand, watches this and wonders that wonders if he could do anything to truly help. And he tries his best to, like, use anything and any spells, but he really can't do anything at this moment. He's kind of out of, like, he's kind of just tired and out of spells to really do efficiently. Like, he could control his mage hand. He helps out, like, here and there with that, but in terms of utilizing any more spells, he's kind of just let's just say tired out, and he needs a bit of a rest. And even though he needs a bit of a rest, he still got a ton of help and helped out a ton, to the point where these villains are already being kind of handled, and Shigaraki and Kurogiri are already unable to actually do anything else, especially with the usage of Mage Hand still helping out on the battlefield. Izuku helping out, keeping Shigaraki on the ground, keeping Kurogiri from doing anything else, and the Nomu completely just out of it at this point. It seems like the villain's attack was completely halted, and even halted to the point that Shigaraki and Kurogiri are actually taken into custody, which is pretty damn impressive. And even Aizawa, after it is all said and done, during the 1 to 2 day break, he would tell Izuku that without his help, that they wouldn't have been able to capture those villains and stop those villains the way they did. And he's really impressed with what he's able to do, and he needs to continue honing in those skills, honing in everything he can do, because he can make for one of the greatest heroes ever, especially with everything that he possibly can do. And this is what's important. This is what matters. And Izuku realizes that that's the truth, that he really can do so much, but he just needs to kind of keep it all together. He needs to make sure that he continues training, continues getting stronger, and continues evolving every single skill that he possibly can, and he continues to becoming an even greater sorcerer than he already is, because that right there will allow him to become one of the greatest heroes ever. Now, with a couple days off and stuff like that, they all know that they're eventually going to come back to the UA Sports Festival. And this right here is an exciting time for everyone, because this is where people will get noticed. This is where people will get known, where people will watch, where people will start understanding what they can do and who they are, and so on and so forth. And Izuku, he's freaking excited. So excited for the UA Sports Festival. And he's ready to show off what he's capable of and everything that he possibly can do. And well, for starters, when everybody stands there, everybody waits, and Izuku takes that podium to give his speech, everybody listens in awe, wondering what the kid has to say. Well, he begins to say that he's excited to show everybody what he's capable of, what he can do, and he's excited for all of them to put on a show. But not only will he put on a show, but he'll show everybody why he is the greatest sorcerer that this place, that Japan, has ever known and seen. In which he shows off a little bit of pizzazz, throwing some fire and stuff in the air, and then lightning, and then stuff like that. Just showing off a little bit. And everyone's like, whoa, that's amazing. He's like a wizard. And Izuku's like, no, I'm not a wizard. I'm a sorcerer. And then everyone's like, no, he's a wizard. Oh, this is insane. And everyone starts chanting, wizard, wizard. And Izuku's standing there like, oh my goodness, what did I just do? Seriously? Whatever. So Izuku steps off the podium, and he heads back and prepares for the first test, which of course would be the actual the obstacle course race. But I'm gonna be honest, this is very easy for Izuku. Very easy. He gets through the obstacle course race faster than you could possibly imagine, being able to speed through pretty damn quick, and if not, literally just teleport through it using Misty Step. And as he does that, he doesn't actually feel tired or really out of energy. He feels like, wow, like all of the stuff that he's been preparing, kind of the training he's gone through, the mental fortitude, he's really gotten to a point where he has prepared himself to get to this kind of section, to get to this, to get to where he wants to be. And he gets through the first portion, or the obstacle course race, very easily. And he's the #1 person there. But that also means he'll get a 10 million point band for the next thing, which would be the cavalry battle. The cavalry battle really will have 4 people. And Izuku will have kind of 3 different partners. And those partners would end up being Ochaku Araka, Tokiyami, and also Mei Hatsume. But in terms of getting close to Izuku, it's not even close. Like, they will not even get near this guy. Because Izuku, he has Mage Hand literally just sweeping the area and taking bans from other people, leading to them literally getting like tons and tons and tons of points. And they really don't have to do anything. Like Tokiyami and all of them, they don't really have to do much. But Izuku, well, he just easily is able to fend off and show off exactly why he's the #1 student in Class 1A and the #1 student in the first years of UA high school. That's why. This is why he's the #1 student. Not because he's the best at destroying robots, not because he's the best at doing this or doing that. No. It's because he's the best up-and-coming hero. That's what he is, and that's what he shows everyone that he is. And this is the perfect thing that everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see someone like Izuku Midoriya climb those ranks faster than you could possibly imagine. And when he starts showing off his powers against some of the better competition, well, this is where things get very, very, very lucrative for someone like Izuku. Because Izuku takes out Shinso very easily, pushes him off with a spell using Thunder Wave very, very quickly, throwing him off the stage just very, very, very easily, you could say. And then he goes on and faces off with Todoroki. Todoroki is no slouch, not one by any means, but Izuku has so much hacks, so much things that would mess with people and do this or do that. I mean, when Todoroki would throw ice at him, he could either choose to kind of burn through it with his burning hands, or he could just put the guy to sleep. Put him to sleep, he can freeze him in place, he can blind him. He doesn't know, he doesn't care. He just knows that he can make things that much easier for himself for scenarios like this, in which he decides to legitimately, like literally, just immediately kind of push Todoroki off the stage with Mage Hand, and also and or kind of like putting him to sleep and then pushing him off with a Mage Hand. And everyone's like, what the heck? Like, that was really quick, like really fast and really concise. And everyone starts cheering, but they wonder, like, what were they even able to do? Like, how? This doesn't even make sense. Like, how is he even able to do that? Like, what even happened? In which Izuku, well, he kind of laughs it off and says something along the lines of, you know, for a while he kind of practiced Mage Hand with just items and objects, and he thought, oh yeah, that's the best way to use it. But then he started realizing that he could legitimately just use Mage Hand to actually interact with other people. And yeah, it becomes considerably easier when using it in this regard. Pushing people off, getting rid of people, putting them at a safe distance, all that stuff. And all of this is just showing the level of sorcerer Izuku is at. But instead of sorcerer, of course, they're chanting that he is the best wizard they have ever seen. And Izuku's like, okay, this is just annoying at this point, but whatever. And he defeats Todoroki. After defeating Todoroki, he goes on to face Tenya Ida. And the main thing with Tenya is his speed. His speed. It's always a difficult thing to deal with, but what happens when all that speed is used against him? When he starts seeing double, maybe even triple, maybe even so much blur that he can't tell where Izuku is. And that is something that Izuku decides to use on himself. He uses a spell that allows him to be massively blurry, and it makes it look like he's in well, let's just say multiple places at once. Not in far distances, but in kind of a large area. And Tenya, he can't tell where is where and which is which. And this is a pretty damn gaping issue when you're trying to actually hit somebody at pretty fast speeds. And it becomes an issue, especially when he goes in to try to hit him and he goes spiraling and he goes flying right off. Literally right off the kind of the area that, or like kind of like the stage. He goes flying off right off the area and just hits the ground, and they're unable, or he's unable to actually, keep his footing by any means. And he gets launched out and defeated extremely quickly. And everybody, they're cheering. They think this is awesome. They think this is freaking amazing. I mean, Izuku, like, how is he able to do that? This guy is truly the greatest wizard they have ever seen. And at this point, Izuku's just ignoring it because he can't bother to tell these people that he's not a freaking wizard. He is a sorcerer. There's a difference, sort of. Now, Izuku just continues waiting to see who he's going to face off with next, but he already knows. He already knows who he's going to go against. He already knows that he's going to face the one and only Katsuki Bakugo. It's always going to be Bakugo, and it's always been Bakugo. He knew that his final test, his final matchup, would be against his quote-unquote friend, Bakugo. And that's what he does. He faces off with Bakugo. Now, how does the fight go? Well, Izuku, he wants to absolutely embarrass him. That's what Izuku wants to do. He doesn't want to beat him easily. He doesn't want to beat him doing this or that. He wants to embarrass him. So what he decides to do is absolutely embarrassing. Casting a spell that he calls Hold Person, and Bakugo is unable to move at all. Struggling, trying to move. And he tells Bakugo that all of this, is going to be proof that there's a difference between him and him, or between him and Izuku. There's a difference between them massively. He hits Bakugo with a blast of fire, and then he tells him that he's going to be unable to move for a long time, actually. Unable to move entirely. He then hits him with a ray of frost, and he keeps telling him that this is his last stand. Bakugo, you are not going to be able to defeat me. You were never going to be able to defeat me. But I wanted you to feel as if there was no chance at all, no chance in hell that you could even stand a chance. He would hit him with another blast, and Izuku would then finish this off with a thunder wave, sending him flying off the area. And Izuku would watch as Bakugo is unable to move, still standing there, still unable to even make a single inch of movement. And eventually, it would be gone. Izuku would allow him to basically, be on his own once again and be able to move around. And this is where things get really, really bad, because Bakugo begins to absolutely crash out. Like, insanely crash out. Freaking out, saying this and that, but he's just pissed. He just got his ass beat by Izuku, and he got beat pretty damn badly. And everybody cheers for Izuku, thinking that this kid, he's something else. That he's going to show off and be the best, and that he's going to continuously show everybody that there's levels to this game. There are so many different levels, and that he has the chance at being the greatest hero they truly have ever seen. And this is the truth behind it. Now, with all of the UA Sports Festival being over, with him getting first place, he gets a lot of letters. A lot of people wanting to work with him. A lot of people wanting to actually take him on, his own, or like their kind of internships and stuff like that. Now, Izuku personally, though, I mean, he doesn't really know what to choose. Like, genuinely doesn't really know what to choose. Like, where does he go? Does he go to like, a top hero or something like that? He's not 100% sure. He's just trying to find some sort of way to gain more knowledge, gain more strength, and just think about it more. And, well, the internship that he does end up going with is a pretty damn good one, because it's with someone by the name of Sir Nighteye, someone who can teach him quite a bit, even though he does a lot of different things comparatively to any other hero anybody could possibly think of. Izuku, well, he would train with Sir Nighteye, learn about the ways that they approach things, how they approach certain scenarios, and how they deal with certain scenarios. And this is a big thing for Izuku, learning, discovering, and figuring out things that he normally wouldn't have dealt with in the first place. And Izuku, well, he does quite a bit with Sir Nighteye, and even kind of works on the case of the one and only Overhaul. Now, they don't find him they don't really discover where he is now, like at this point. But Izuku actually is pretty damn smart and has some capabilities that allow him to, prepare some sort of plan to eventually find Overhaul. But they might have to reconvene on that at a future date. But overall, they have some really good kind of training with Mirio, with the other sidekicks, with, like with Bubble Girl and stuff like that. And Izuku, he does pretty well with everybody. He does pretty well in general. And overall, he is one hell of a student hero and one hell of an up-and-coming hero. And Sir Nighteye can see exactly why there has been thousands of different heroes that are very high on Izuku Midoriya and very high on the capabilities that he really is portraying. At the end of the day, everybody needs a hero that can do a little bit of everything. And Izuku, he's far from one-dimensional. He can do a little bit of everything. But honestly, that might be an understatement. He could really do a lot of everything. And Izuku is able to do so much, and he can really do just everything that a hero would want in a sidekick, but also everything a random citizen would want in the hero that is protecting them. And of course, Sir Nighteye believes that you need situational help and also, some on-the-field training. So he decides, you know what? He's going to send Izuku and Bubble Girl to Hosu City, to a city where there's quite a bit of crime. But he believes that it shouldn't be too insane, and they should get some good experience there, especially together. They'll get some decent experience. So he sends them both off, and initially it's nothing crazy. That's until a Nomu breakout would ensue, and Izuku and Bubble Girl would basically try their best to actually get people to safety. And as he's getting people to safety, he would come across an alleyway where there's two people facing off. And these two people are, well, Tenya Ida and the hero killer, Stain. And Izuku, well, all he can think about is getting Tenya out of there, because Stain is not someone to be messed with, like, at all. And Izuku knows this. He can tell that this guy is a master of weaponry and a master of martial arts, and obviously has full intentions of ending the life of Tenya Ida. And Izuku, he needs to help him somehow. So that's what he does. He tries to cast a spell initially to actually help Tenya just get away, but it seems that Tenya has no intention of getting away. He put himself in this situation. He put himself where he wanted to be. He put himself in harm's way because he wanted to take on the hero killer, and he wanted to end the hero killer. And this is what Izuku realizes quickly, and probably not quick enough though, because Izuku sees the hero killer strike toward Tenya very, very fast, and before Izuku can stop him, he actually lands a blow on Tenya that leaves a wound pretty bad. And This would lead to Izuku actually casting Hold Person on, well, the hero killer and waiting for other heroes to arrive for help. And that would include someone like Endeavor. And luckily with someone like Endeavor and some other strong heroes that are basically around, they're able to defeat the hero killer. But this has really made Izuku think about who Tenya Ida was as a person. He went out of his way to try to kill the hero killer. That was his goal. That's what he wanted. And what does that say about Tenya? It says that he's not ready to be a hero. He's not ready to take on the responsibility of being a hero. And he tells Tenya this straight up. Tells him flat out that he's not ready to be the hero he thinks he can be. And it's obvious. And everybody at UA needs to know about this as well. The teachers need to know about this as well. And he basically tells Izuku, like, don't tell them, don't rat me out, like, don't tell them that this is why I was here, blah blah blah. But Izuku doesn't even listen. Like, he's like, dude, you're ridiculous. Like, that was idiotic. You could have got yourself killed. You could have got other people killed. You could have done horrible. It could have been horrible. But because you decided to do this, you decided to approach things this way. And the reality is, you were never going to be in position to truly take down that monster. Never in position to truly take down that freak of nature that is Stain. And Izuku makes it very clear that Tenya is an absolute idiot, that he should have never put himself in that situation, and he should never put himself in that situation ever again. Now, with the hero killer incident happening and all the things occurring, they're actually sent back from their internships a lot sooner than Izuku would have liked. He still had, well, quite a bit to learn from Sir Nighteye, and had quite a bit that he wanted to learn from Sir Nighteye in general. But unfortunately, everything would be cut short, and he would not be able to actually kind of continue on with learning and continue on with, well, kind of just understanding and learning more from Sir Nighteye himself. But he does believe that he's going to get his chance to learn from him even more in the near future, but just not right now. Now, with everybody going back to UA, there is some other things that they have to get done, and they have to basically work through. And that is the final exams. And everybody studies up and, learns and tries to keep up with what they need to keep up with. And eventually, they would take their written portion of that said exam. But after taking the written portion, they would then ensue into the practical portion. But the practical portion itself isn't what you think it's going to be. It is no longer going to be against robots. It's going to be against the actual teachers of UA High School. This would make things, well, a lot more practical, and it would make things a lot more, important in terms of, like, actually making things along the lines of something that you actually have to worry about. If it's just robots, you can defeat robots easy peasy. But defeating a teacher, aka an actual hero, even though they are, limited in what they can do, it still will be extremely difficult. Like, there's no way around it. It will be extremely difficult. And for Izuku, well, he has to unfortunately take on one of the strongest, if not the strongest hero to ever exist, All Might, with one person he definitely didn't want to work with, that being Katsuki Bakugo. Izuku and Bakugo have to take on All Might together and see if they can truly take him down. And let's just say, it's not going to be easy, but Izuku, well, he knows that Bakugo is not going to play really nice with him, and is definitely not going to be an easy partner to team up with. And the fight between them two and All Might, well, it's an interesting one. Izuku tries his best to set up Bakugo in some sort of way, but Bakugo basically hurts them in this, is kind of doing things irregularly and not really approaching things intelligently. And he realizes this pretty quickly because it's obvious that, well, let's just say Izuku's just unable to really get a grasp on what Bakugo wants to do. He tries to even use Hold Person on All Might, but with the strength of All Might and kind of, his lack of like strength with the spell itself, he's unable to actually get a grasp on All Might to hold him down, just not right off the bat at least. And unfortunately, he's unable to actually, make things easier for them in the long run. But he does know if he grabs onto Bakugo and he uses kind of a teleportation, he can get them out of there. He can win them this kind of test by just escaping. But he knows that Bakugo does not want this to happen. And he wants to fight All Might. He wants to take him down. He wants to do whatever he can to destroy him. So Izuku's going to give him that chance. Even if Bakugo doesn't want Izuku to really help him, he's going to give him that chance. He tells Bakugo that if he wants to defeat All Might, go right ahead. That he can. Do whatever you think is best. But he tells him that he's going to have one chance at this thing. One singular chance. And when he goes down, when he's gasping for air, don't expect him to come picking up the damn pieces. Izuku tells him this, and he casts a spell on Bakugo without him realizing it. And Bakugo begins to actually put the pace on All Might. Izuku was able to use a spell known as Haste to basically give Bakugo a massive amount of speed, strength, and so on. And it allows him to basically utilize his quirk a lot less repercussions, allowing him to actually keep up with All Might to an extent. Because this is a weaker All Might, someone that has literal weights on him and all this stuff, but Bakugo, well, he's not feeling the normal effects of his quirk. He's actually just absolutely putting it on All Might, but it's obvious that eventually he's gonna run out. He's gonna run out of that stamina. He's gonna run out of the haste, and he's going to fall down and fall straight on his face. But before he can actually fall straight on his face, Izuku would show up out of nowhere and Misty step them out of there, teleporting across the finish line and ensuing this kind of escape. Like they escaped from All Might and they're now going to get help. And Bakugo's pissed, but he's telling Izuku, you could have let me continue fighting. Like, I still had way more in the tank. I could have defeated him. But as he's saying this, he collapses to the ground exhausted. Izuku shakes his head and says, you didn't have any more time. I gave you the time that you wanted. I gave you a chance. You weren't able to defeat him. That's the reality of it. As soon as you are living in reality and the quicker you're in reality, the better you are going to be a hero. Stop living in a damn fantasy land. In which Izuku, ironically enough, saying this is kind of funny because he's literally a sorcerer and he's basically, somewhat of magical powers. But that's reality for Bakugo and reality for all of them. Stop living in a fantasy land and thinking that your limits don't exist. That you have limits. Can you break them? Of course. There's a chance that you can go further. You can push further. You can do better. But it doesn't mean you throw away your limits and think that they don't exist at all. Because you're just going to get yourself killed by doing that. And he knows that to be reality, especially for someone like Bakugo. And this would lead them into the forest training camp, where they would get a lot of amazing training. Izuku would get some insane amounts of training. This training camp wouldn't be invaded by villains because they would already be, in prison, for the most part. And Izuku would actually just be able to utilize some of the spells he's never utilized before, increasing their strength, increasing their powers, and also increasing his ability to utilize higher level spells and higher tier spells and not feeling as exhausted and as tired and not needing a rest as often. I mean, we get 1 full week or maybe even 2 full weeks of just solid, solidified training, and Izuku himself is feeling amazing. I mean, he is feeling great. At the end of the day, this is what he needed. He needed some actual, just absolute insane training, and that's what he was able to get. He was able to get some very, very, very good training, and it helps him quite a bit, and it helps him just prepare himself for whatever is to eventually come. But as they finish up their training sessions, as they finish up everything that is basically ensuing, they would eventually start heading home. And as they head home, well, there's something waiting for them. And that something is All For One. A last stand versus All Might. That is what he wants. He wants a last stand versus All Might. He wants to kill All Might, and he wants to start the absolute downfall of the heroes right here and right now. And this is where things get interesting, because Izuku himself, well, he's only watching this. He's only watching everything ensue, and as the heroes take on the Nomus and All Might takes on All For One on his own, he's getting the best of All For One toward the end of their fight. And with one United States of Smash, he's able to defeat him. But as he's defeated, as he's actually done and basically out of the fights, it seems like he wasn't the only thing that All Might had to worry about. Because in his Small Might form, he would look up to hear rumblings, to hear things crashing and breaking, and he would see a giant monster, Giganto Makia, spiraling through the city, going right for him. Izuku watches this and wonders, what is going to happen? What is he going to do? They have to do something. If they don't do something, he's going to die. All Might is going to die, in which he thinks he has to do something. He has to be able to do something. He has to do something now, in which he'd look toward the other people there, and he would go toward the door. Everybody would tell him that whatever he's thinking, he really shouldn't do it. And Izuku shakes his head and says that honestly, he's not thinking. He's only doing. He opens the door, but it's as if it's some dimensional door, opening up and actually being at a different place, actually being right by the fight. Izuku tells them that if he doesn't come back alive, well, tell his story. He laughs a little bit and walks through the door and closes it as he looks up to see a giant monster, a giant beast, racing over toward All Might. He tells All Might that he has one choice and one choice only, because he doesn't think that a hasted All Might, someone who is a little bit stronger and maybe has a little bit more of that life within him, or that little bit more of that power within him, will really, be able to stop this thing. And All Might asks him, what the hell does he think he's going to do? What is he thinking? Is he insane? He tells him to get out of there. Young Midoriya, get out of here. You're going to get yourself killed. And Izuku says that as a hero, as an up-and-coming hero, well, we all have a little bit of a death wish. And Izuku looks at him and says that this could work, or it could not work. And I could be splat on the ground in the next 2 seconds. But just be ready and hope that it does. Because if it doesn't, they're both dead anyways. In which Izuku looks at All Might and looks back at the charging beast by the name of Giganto Makia, and he uses a spell that he has no freaking clue if it will actually work, but it seems like it does, at least to an extent. He uses a spell he knows as Dominate Beast, and it is to basically charm the beast that is facing him. And the only reason why it really worked was because of the kind of mind that the beast has. It doesn't have a very complex mind, and it already has massive amounts of loyalty already built in. So in doing so, it has basically kind of messed with the head of the beast and slowed it down and stopped it, at least for the moment. It hasn't made him friendly, but it has stopped him for the moment. He thinks to himself that he has to do something. This thing won't stay like this forever, but then he gets an idea. Well, what if I do this? He looks toward All for One, and then he changes into All for One, telling the beast to go away, to go back toward the mountains and lay dormant until the next time he tells him to come back. And as he says this, Giganto Makia would be in shock as he would bow down and tell All for One, or at least the Izuku version, and he would tell him, "Yes, master," as he would run off and leave the city unharmed once again. And Izuku would sigh in relief, realizing what he just did and realizing that that could have been really effing bad. Like, really effing bad. And All Might's in shock to think that he was able to do that. And Izuku says that it's crazy the things you can do when there's a good chance that you're feeling that you could genuinely lose your life. And Izuku tells him that he did what he thought was right at the moment, and he did what he thought was possible at the moment. And let's just say, luckily it worked, because if it didn't, they would probably not be having this conversation, and probably not having a conversation at all, because they probably would have been dead. Now, with that said though, there's a lot of people that have just watched this occur and are thinking that Izuku might just be even better and even greater than they can possibly imagine. So much so that All Might gets full responsibility to actually give him a provisional hero license without even taking the exam. And this is pretty kind of unimaginable for most people, because a lot of people believe that like this doesn't happen often, if not ever. But Izuku was able to do things and help out in ways that many other heroes, literal heroes, couldn't even do. And Izuku has truly proven the level of sorcerer he really has become. And he continues to train with his classmates, continues to train at UA, but then he ensues in his training with Sir Nighteye, and also working with trying to find Overhaul, the last really main villain in all of this. And Izuku continues the research and trying to find him, and trying to basically find a way to get to him. And Izuku tells basically everyone that if they find him, that they can bring him in the day they find him. They can bring him in immediately. And he tells them that as long as he's in basically distance of Izuku, he'll be able to send him off into prison pretty damn quickly through either a dimensional door or some sort of, like hold person or anything you can think of. These are the things that he's able to do and be capable of. And well, let's just say one day when him and Mirio are on a patrol is when he would run into the one and only Overhaul by accident with a little kid by the name of Eri, who seems terrified. She seems absolutely scared out of her mind, and without any hesitation, Izuku would look toward, well, Overhaul, and he would immediately think that he needs to do something about this. Parts of his body are kind of telling him, his hands, his mind is telling him to absolutely kill this guy. I mean, at the end of the day, it just feels like he deserves it, but he decides that he won't dive into the realm of that dark kind of hole of magic and that dark hole of spells. So he decides just to go with the plan that they said. He would open up a dimensional door where Miria would punch, he would punch Overhaul through the door, and it would lead him to a room that is completely out of on its own, and they would be able to capture Overhaul very quickly, in fact, and stop him from, or basically separate him from the Shia Hazaikai. Now, they still have to invade the entirety of the place, in which they do so. They invade with the help of Izuku, and Izuku's kind of help with different spells, hasting them and allowing them to basically get through the place with dimensional doors as well. It would help, honestly, every single raid and anything you could possibly think of in the near future too. Izuku has everything that an actual hero and a potential hero would want to actually use in the near future. The ability to have flashy powers like lightning, fire, ice, and many things like that, but then powerful skills that can hold and capture people that are villains and stop them from doing the bad things that they normally do, but also the ability to support others and support other heroes that are basically at the crime scenes and in battles with him. And that's where things get so different. And he's able to show this off quite a bit, especially when Class 1A goes head to head with Class 1B. When Class 1B faces off with Class 1A in a quote-unquote training session, Izuku shows off why he's that much better than basically everyone there. Because when they face off, Class 1A versus Class 1B, it's actually with someone by the name of Shinso as well, and this joint training battle would kick off, and everybody would be pretty damn entertained by it overall. But once Izuku is on the field, once Izuku is facing off with 5 members or 4 members of Class 1B, and then 1 including Shinso, it's pretty obvious who's going to end up winning. Izuku brings so many things to the field, and with Mina, Ochako, and Mineta, yes, they're not the strongest and most effective people he could probably be working with, but Izuku can easily handle almost everybody on the field very quickly with powerful spells that allow him to cover the entirety of the area in ice. Powerful spells that would allow him to basically infiltrate their team and basically force them to not know who's really who. And Izuku would make quick work of them with some powerful spells and even some weaker spells that he actually ends up using. Some spells that would allow him to basically just massively get that upper hand on them and easily defeat them. Easily defeat them. He would cover the area in ice and then send a giant fireball if he wanted to destroy everything. But of course, he decides the more, considerable way, where he would kind of lay ice on the ground. He would help his teammates with haste, and he would also, open up dimensional doors if needed to go to certain areas and or travel to certain places to give them the proper and the best availability to win. Shoot, he would even utilize invisibility to get behind them and allow him to surprise attack most of them and defeat them very, very quickly. But soon, Izuku and his classmates will be feeling the effects of the approaching world that they are truly joining, approaching the world of truly being a hero. Izuku continues working with Sir Nightaye's agency and many other agencies, continuously kind of evolving his skills, evolving his ability to spell cast and so on and so forth, eventually getting him into the realm of finally becoming a hero. After his first, second, and even going into his 3rd year, Izuku would be at the top of his class, even becoming a member of their very own Big Three. And as Izuku watches Mirio climb the ranks, as he watches Sir Nighteye pass the reins off to Mirio himself, Izuku would be finally becoming or coming into his own, and coming into his own and being a hero. While he watches Mirio continue to blossom as he basically finishes his 3rd year of high school, he is now ready to become a hero himself. And I will not lie to you when I'm saying that when he enters the world of being a true hero, he already has a lot of expectations that are being placed on him. Everybody already knows him to possibly being the greatest sorcerer to ever exist, and they're ready to see what he could do when he truly steps foot in the world of being a hero, and when he finally takes that next step and finally becomes a full-fledged hero, going past high school and the kind of learning period of himself getting better and stronger and all of the above. Izuku Midoriya has full intentions of growing past what his current capabilities are, because yes, he does have full intention of being the greatest sorcerer to ever exist and the greatest spellcaster to ever exist, but he also has full intentions of becoming the greatest hero to ever exist. And with competition like Mirio and competition like All Might and his legacy, it's no joke when he starts stepping into that world. But he has every last bit of advantage in his life. Every last bit of advantage in terms of becoming the hero he seeks out to be. But Izuku Midoriya's story may not be over, but the story of what if Deku had a Sorcerer Quirk will end here. Izuku may continue his story beyond this, and beyond this he'll be the sorcerer hero that Japan will know. But for now, that is the end of our telling of Izuku Midoriya with a Sorcerer Quirk. But if you enjoyed, show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. And if you want more videos in a movie format where it's all like a long one-shot and not in parts, show some love to this video. Blow this video up. Show a ton of love. If you want to see more videos like this, blow the video up and I will do more just like this. I will admit, it took some time. It took quite a bit to actually record this video. But if y'all really enjoy this format, maybe a little bit of a faster paced version of the what ifs, but also kind of a more condensed version where it's all in one video, in one shot. Let me know if you guys enjoy it this way. Love to hear what you guys have to say, but I don't got much else to say. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.